Welcome everyone to the very first episode of This Week in Gaming here on JMFAwesome Gaming, where every Sunday we aim to take a look at the biggest official news from the gaming worlds we're already invested in. That means we're looking at game announcements, game trailers, gameplay reveals, developer interviews, major studio updates, and industry news that actually matters to the games and franchises we follow here on the channel. Now, because this is episode 1, we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. Instead of covering just the last 7 days, we're catching up on the biggest stories from Summer Games Fest through today. Think of this as a State of Gaming update to get us all on the same page before we settle into our regular weekly format. Today, we're going to be diving into new details on Fable, taking a look at the future of the Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy, and discussing what Sony's move towards the digital future could mean for physical game collectors, all while wrapping up with a few quick updates from around the gaming industry. Starting next week, this will become a weekly series, but for today, let's just catch up on everything we've missed since Summer Games Fest. So let's jump in to This Week in Gaming. Let's kick things off with what was easily my biggest surprise for Summer Games Fest, Fable. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you know I recently finished playing Fable Anniversary, so seeing Playground Games finally pull back the curtain on the reboot, that immediately caught my attention. During Summer Games Fest, we got our best look yet at the game through new gameplay footage, giving us a much better idea of what Playground Games is actually trying to build. Now, one of the biggest takeaways is that this still looks like Fable. The humor is there, the charm is there, the quirky British personality that made the original game so memorable, that still seems to be front and center. It doesn't look like they're trying to turn Fable into just another dark fantasy RPG. Instead, it feels like they're embracing what made the series unique in the first place. Now, beyond the gameplay reveal, Playground Games has also talked more about some of the systems behind the game. They've explained that player choices will matter, with NPCs reacting to your actions over time instead of simply forgetting what we've done. They've also discussed expanding in the series' reputation and morality systems, features that many longtime fans, myself included, consider to be part of Fable's core identity. One of the most impressive examples of that is what Playground calls the living population system. Rather than filling Albion with generic NPCs, the world is populated by over 1,000 handcrafted characters, each with their own names, personalities, homes, jobs, relationships, and daily routines. More importantly, your actions don't just affect the individuals, they can change how entire towns react to you, by influencing local economies and even shaping the lives of individual people living there. Another topic that sparked a lot of discussion was the game's engine. Since Playground Games is best known for the Forza Horizon series, some fans were understandably concerned when they learned the new Fable is going to be built on Forza tech. According to the developers though, they're not simply dropping an RPG into a racing engine. They've spent years building new technology on top of Forza tech, specifically to support things like quests, cinematics, character animations, AI behavior, and the reactive world they're aiming to create. The developers even addressed one of the questions fans immediately asked after the showcase. What happens if I decide to wipe out an entire town? Don't act like you didn't ask yourself that, I know I did. And rather than permanently locking players out of the content, settlements will remain empty for a period of time before being repopulated with entirely new, fully simulated AI NPCs. Now, if that's not a clever way of making your choices feel meaningful without completely breaking the game, I don't know what is. Now, personally, after finishing Fable Anniversary, I'm super excited that I actually get to go on a murder spree and kill everybody in a town and have no repercussions for it. Now, if Playground Games can capture that feeling while modernizing the combat, exploration, and world systems, based on everything they've shown so far, it really looks like they're trying to do just that. I genuinely think they'll have the potential to create something really special. Now, of course, we won't know for sure until the game is actually in players' hands, but after everything we've seen and everything the developers have shared since Summer Games Fest, I'm definitely more optimistic than I was a few months ago. What do you guys think? Does the new Fable look like a worthy successor to the original games, or are you still waiting to see more before you're convinced? Now, from one legendary RPG making its return to another that's preparing to bring one of gaming's most iconic stories to a close, our next headline is one that I'm especially excited about because it's directly connected to one of the biggest projects I'm working on this channel. Now, if you've been watching my Saga series, you already know we're currently making our way through Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, what you don't know is the plan is to continue that journey all the way through Crisis Core Reunion, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and eventually finishing it off with the final chapter of the Remake Trilogy, Final Fantasy Revelation. Now, since Summer Games Fest, Square Enix revealed Final Fantasy VII Revelation, giving us our first real look at how this incredible journey is going to come to an end. The trailer showcased larger scale environments, expanded exploration, the return of the High Wind, and more of the iconic locations and characters fans have been waiting to see reimagined. Now, we also learned that Revelation is targeting a spring 2027 release, and that will launch on multiple platforms from day one, making it the first entry in the Remake Trilogy to do so. No longer will it be a PlayStation exclusive for the first year. One of the more interesting details shared by the development team is that player choices will influence certain conversations and character interactions throughout the game. However, they were also clear that the overall story will still build toward one definitive ending. So while your journey may feel a little bit more personal, the core narrative still remains intact. Now for me, I feel like that's the right approach. One of the things I've loved most about playing through Final Fantasy VII Remake is seeing how Square Enix has expanded the original story while still respecting what made it such a classic. They've added new layers to the characters, expanded the world, and created moments that surprise even longtime fans while keeping the heart of Final Fantasy VII intact. Knowing that Revelations is now officially on the horizon makes the entire roadmap for this channel even more exciting. We're not just playing one game, we're experiencing the entire Remake project from beginning to end. That means every new trailer, developer interview, gameplay review, or official update becomes part of a much bigger journey that we'll all get to experience together. Now, it's still going to be a while before Revelation is actually in our hands, but based on everything Square Enix has shown so far, it's shaping up to be a fitting conclusion to one of gaming's most ambitious remake projects. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the one thing you're hoping to see most when Final Fantasy VII Revelation finally launches? Let me know down in the comments. Now, speaking of unforgettable stories, not every great story needs 100 hours to tell. Our next headline is one that fans have been waiting a long time to hear about. And after years of uncertainty, I can tell you, The Wolf Among Us is finally showing signs of life again. Now, following the latest official updates since Summer Games Fest, it finally feels like this long-awaited return is moving in the right direction. We learned that The Wolf Among Us 2 is targeting a 2027 release window, and alongside that announcement, Telltale revealed The Wolf Among Us Remastered will be scheduled to launch during the 2026 holiday season. Now that's a smart move, because it gives longtime fans a reason to revisit Bigby's story, while giving newcomers the perfect opportunity to experience the original before the sequel arrives. Now, if you're not familiar with the series, The Wolf Among Us is based on Bill Willingham's Fables comics and follows Bigby Wolf, the sheriff of Fabletown, as he investigates murders in a world where fairy tale characters secretly live among ordinary people. For me, this news is exciting for a couple of reasons. First, if you've been following the channel, you already know we're making our way through the Walking Dead series. One of the things I've always loved about Telltale games is their ability to tell compelling, character-driven stories where your choices shape the experience. While The Wolf Among Us has a very different setting and atmosphere, it shares the same emphasis on storytelling, memorable characters, and meaningful player decisions. It's also a franchise that's firmly on my list of future playthroughs for the channel, so this is definitely one I'll be watching closely as more official information is revealed. For now though, we're still waiting to see exactly what's next, but after years of uncertainty, it's simply exciting to see this franchise moving forward again. If you've played the original, let me know what you're hoping to see in the next chapter. And if you've never experienced The Wolf Among Us, but you've been enjoying our Walking Dead series, this is yet another Telltale adventure that I think you'll definitely want to keep on your radar. Alright, now we're going to step away from the games themselves for a moment to talk about something that affects every gamer. Our next headline is one that sparked a lot of discussion across the entire gaming industry, so let's talk about the future of physical media. Now this week, Sony officially announced that starting in January 2028, all new PlayStation games will be released digitally, bringing an end to physical disc production for new PlayStation titles. Now, games that have already launched or are scheduled to launch on disc before that date will not be affected, but every new release after the cutoff will be digital only. Sony says the decision reflects how people are actively buying games today. Digital sales have steadily grown over the years, and the company says it's adapting to how the majority of players now purchase and access their games. Now, from a business standpoint, the move makes sense. Digital distribution eliminates manufacturing costs, shipping costs, and retail distribution while giving players instant access to new releases. But for gamers, this announcement raises some much bigger questions. What happens to game collecting? What happens to used games? What happens when you want to lend a game to a friend? And maybe the biggest question of all, do we even own the games we're buying anymore? Now, for collectors, there's something special about having a physical shelf filled with games you've enjoyed over the years. Physical copies can be traded, resold, borrowed, and preserved long after digital storefronts change or disappear. Digital games are incredibly convenient. I buy digital games myself, but convenience and ownership are not the same thing. It's also important to point out that as of today, Microsoft has not announced a similar policy for Xbox. While many people are wondering if Xbox could eventually move in the same direction, there has been no official announcement, so I'm not going to speculate beyond what's been actively confirmed. Now, whether you prefer digital or physical, this feels like a significant moment for the gaming industry. If PlayStation, the market leader in the console space, is making this move, it's likely to shape conversations about game ownership and preservation for years to come. Now, I want to hear from all of you. Are you already all digital, or do you still buy physical games whenever you can? And if physical media eventually disappears altogether, do you think that's simply the future of gaming, or do you think we'd be losing something important? That wraps up this week's headlines. Now, let's take a quick look at a story worth keeping an eye on. If you guys have been following WoW content creators recently, you've probably heard the name Camelot come up a lot. Now, before we go any further, it's important to be clear. Blizzard has not officially announced Project Camelot. Everything we're about to discuss comes from data mining and community speculation. Not anything official from Blizzard has been revealed. So why is everyone talking about it? Data miners recently discovered references to World of Warcraft Camelot on Blizzard's internal servers. Since then, creators and players alike have been trying to figure out what it could mean. One of the biggest community theories is that Camelot could be connected to the future of WoW Classic Plus, but as of right now, that's purely speculation. This conversation has gained even more attention because Blizzard has recently continued taking legal action against several private WoW Classic Plus servers like Turtle WoW, Project Ascension, and Chromicraft. While some fans believe the timing could be connected, there's currently no official evidence linking those actions to Project Camelot. So here's where things stand. What we know now. Blizzard has not officially announced the Project Camelot. Data miners found references to the name on Blizzard servers, inferring it as a project title rather than a game name. The WoW community is actively discussing what this could be. What we don't know is what Camelot actually is, whether it's related to WoW Classic Plus or if it's a new name for a retail title expansion. Whether it will ever be officially announced, who knows? But for now, this is simply one of the biggest community discussions happening in World of Warcraft, and I want to talk about it. So leave a comment below and let me know your speculations on WoW Camelot. And that's going to wrap up the very first episode of This Week in Gaming. As always, everything we talked about today was based on official announcements, developer updates, or clearly labeled community discussions. My goal with this series is simple. I want to cut through the noise and bring you the gaming news that actually matters to the franchises that we already follow here on JMFAwesome Gaming. Now, starting next week, this series will shift into its regular format, covering the biggest gaming headlines from the past week, along with any major updates from games, franchises, companies, and industry stories that we're going to be keeping an eye out for. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Which story from today's episode has you the most excited? Are you looking forward to the new Fable? What are your thoughts on Final Fantasy VII Revelations? Do you think physical media is on its way out? And for the WoW players out there, what do you think Camelot actually is? Drop your thoughts down in the comments because I'd love to feature some of your opinions in future episodes of This Week in Gaming. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to leave a like. If you found it informative, smash that subscribe button if you'd like to join us for future gameplay and weekly gaming updates. For everyone else, I'll see you next Sunday for another edition of This Week in Gaming. Until then, take care and happy gaming!